have not traveled as extensively as others have, but a little bit about me. I'm originally from Calgary, born and raised there. I am a proud auntie and godmother to 3 girls, all in their 20s and 30s now, and the proud owner of 1 small cat. So I have quite a small world. Yes, Miss Tigger. I started out in my career with a Bachelor of Commerce in accounting in 1981. I tell my clients that I'm a very slow learner. I did accounting for 7 years before I realized I'm not good at it and I don't like it. And in 1984, I was lucky enough to land a job with Canada Post Corporation and really discovered my career in project management. So I was the head of implementing a national prototype system to measure the productivity of postal plants in the 80s. So building data centers and managing postal strikes and bringing scabs across the line, and it was a very colorful career in the 80s. And then in the early 90s, I had the opportunity to go join what was AGT, that's now TELUS Mobility. So I ran the IT department through the 90s when TELUS was, and the cellular world was just developing. So my first year in the job, we had 5 customer service reps and 10,000 clients, and 7 years later we had 250 customer service reps and 250,000 customers. So it was a really exciting career and really taught me a lot about computers and systems. Then I started to slow down a bit. I had aging parents here in Kelowna, so I was going back and forth quite a bit. So in 1998, I started my own consulting practice. Initially it was outsourced project management resources, grew the company quite extensively. The first year, I think there was $250,000 worth of revenue. The second year, $350,000. Third year, $1.2 million. Really thought we were roaring, and then the dot-com bubble hit. I had 2 customers go bankrupt, and I was lucky to not lose my house. So really learned from the school of hard knocks. Then I had the opportunity, again, carried on my consulting practice, but really moved more into coaching and mentoring project managers, particularly in the technology world. Worked for quite a few years at the City of Calgary. They had what I would characterize as a center of excellence for project management. So I had the opportunity to coach and work with engineers and creative arts people and everything in between. So then I moved to Kelowna 7 years ago, and Calgary's economy was very quickly going down the tube, and started my consulting practice here in a radically different city. I mean, when you look at corporate headquarters that are in Calgary, and then I think one of the fellows I talked to at the City of Calgary is 90% of the employers in Kelowna have less than 10 employees. So it was a radically different shift to my world personally and work-wise, but I absolutely love it. But really, I found my dream condo, and then unfortunately, I continued to get involved on condo strata boards. So as of last May, I am no longer on condo strata boards because I now have the wonderful experience of Rotary. So I have completely hung up my hat. I will never ever be on a strata board again. But if people want to learn about condos or what not to get involved in strata boards, I'm happy to tell some stories for the price of a bottle of wine. I started a writing career 2 years ago. I'm writing for some digital blogs, and I just handed in my manuscript for a book that's going to be published by Business Experts Press. It's called Lead, Then Learn, Powering Project Teams with Collaboration. So that is a major milestone in my career.
So we get some people asking some questions for you.
Sure.
Okay. Any questions for Annie?
Evans?
Well, I'm just wondering, tell us now, somehow they've got rid of all the phones. Well, the person who got rid of all the phones so the customers wouldn't bother them, is he now the president and making a multi-million-dollar salary?
I don't know, Darren's been around for a while, Darren Entwistle.
Well, why did they get rid of the phones? You can't talk to them anymore.
I know, I think they're gonna put artificial intelligence and you're not gonna talk to a human at all.
It doesn't make sense if you're not.
You kept calling it.
I agree.
Your experience with Canada Post, why didn't Canada Post see down the road a few years and keep up with the times? I mean, all of the other carriers, all the other FedEx and all of those people, they just gutted the Canada Post business. Why didn't they see that? I mean,
In my humble opinion, again, I worked there in the early 80s. I was gone by probably about 91, but Canada Post has a very weird dynamic. It's the most radical unions in Canada, and I would suggest even possibly in North America. They've got an interesting legacy because the unions came out of the railway system, because that's the way they used to sort the mail, right, between railway stations. And at the end of the Second World War, the government promised the vets jobs, and they put them in Canada Post as managers. So they've got union issues that have been going on, for 70, 80 years. And even when I was there in the 80s, I mean, because that was a big part of the strikes that I was in the 80s, is they were trying to break the unions back then, and they've been trying to do it for decades since.
One last question.
Can you briefly share what your book is about? And I'm assuming that's not self-published, but published by a publishing company?
Yeah, the book is being published by Business Experts Press, and it's really about digital teams, distributed teams, those kind of project teams working in technology environments, and how they can collaborate and use technology effectively to collaborate.
Wow.
Thank you very much again.